Alright, so a game drops and the internet completely loses its mind. IGN gives it a 10 out of 10. DualShockers gives it a 10 out of 10. Game Informer gives it a 9. Push Square gives it a 9. GameSpot gives it a 9. And then regular people start playing it. They put the controller down, walk away, make a sandwich, come back 10 minutes later, and the game is still going, still playing itself. Nobody touched a single button. That is Mixtape. Now look, I have seen every angle of this debate play out online. I have seen the clips, I have read the takes, and honestly, most people in this conversation are either riding so hard for this game they cannot see straight, or they are dunking on it so hard they are missing what is actually interesting about it. So today I am going to do something that apparently nobody else wants to do. I am going to give you the full, honest breakdown. No hype, no hate, just the real answer on what Mixtape is, what it is not, and whether you should actually spend your money on it. I am Andre, welcome back. Let us get into it. So what even is Mixtape? The game comes from a studio called Beethoven and Dinosaur out of Australia, published by Annapurna Interactive. It costs about $18 to $20 depending on where you grab it. It is also sitting on Xbox Game Pass right now if you have a subscription. The whole experience runs 3 to 4 hours depending on how much you slow down and explore. The story follows 3 high school friends in a small fictional town in the Pacific Northwest. The year is 1999. One last night together before everything changes. Stacy is the main character you control for most of the game, and she is leaving tomorrow for New York City to chase her dream of becoming a music supervisor. Her best friend Cassandra is heading off to college, and then there is Slater, who is just Slater, staying in town. No real plan, no urgency, just a beat up car with a cassette player and a general energy of not caring about anything ever. The entire game is structured around a mixtape that Stacy made to mark this chapter of her life. Every big moment, every memory, every emotional beat in the story gets scored by a real licensed song, not some generic background track, not royalty-free elevator music. We are talking Smashing Pumpkins, Joy Division, the Jesus and Mary chain, Silverchair, real artists, real songs, carefully chosen for each scene. That is the concept, and honestly, on paper, it sounds genuinely cool. So let me start with what actually works, because there is real craft in this game, and it deserves to be acknowledged properly before we get into everything else. The art style might be the single most visually interesting thing I have seen in a game this year. Here's what they do. The backgrounds and environments are hyper realistic, almost photographic. You are walking through a convincing small American town in the late 90s. But the characters living in those environments are drawn in this stylized, low frame rate animated style on top of it, almost like stop motion, like cut out figures dropped into a real world photograph. It sounds like it should clash horribly and look like a broken tech demo. It does not. It is stunning. It gives the entire game this quality of a memory you cannot fully trust. Like you are looking at something through a layer of nostalgia, and it is slightly too clean, slightly too perfect to be real, which is exactly what the game is going for thematically. That is not a happy accident. That is intentional design working at a high level. The music hits even harder than I expected going in, and I went in skeptical because using licensed nostalgia to make people feel things is one of the oldest tricks in creative media. But Mixtape does not just throw in the obvious hits everyone already knows. There are genuinely deep cuts in this soundtrack, songs you probably have never heard before, and when the right track drops at the right moment in a scene, the way it lines up with what is happening emotionally on screen, it genuinely transports you. That feeling of being somewhere else, somewhere you may have almost forgotten, they earn it. It does not feel cheap. The characters are also a lot better written than most of the backlash crowd is giving them credit for. Stacy, Cassandra, and Slater actually talk like teenagers, not like how Hollywood writers imagine teenagers talk, like how they actually talk to each other. There is real rhythm to the dialogue, there is authentic awkwardness in it, there is that specific energy where someone is completely overconfident and completely terrified at the exact same time and has absolutely no awareness that both things are true simultaneously. That is difficult to write convincingly. They pulled it off. Cassandra in particular is the standout character of the 3. Her whole arc dealing with an overprotective cop father, a dad who clearly loves her but is also slowly suffocating her future by trying to keep her safe. That dynamic is something a lot of people are going to recognize immediately. Maybe you lived a version of that. The game handles it with more honesty than I anticipated. And and the overall presentation is just tight. The transitions between scenes flow well, certain memories escalate into these surreal, almost fantastical set pieces where the game completely drops its grounded tone and goes fully abstract and cinematic for a moment before pulling you back. Mixed media sequences blend animation with real photographs and actual footage. There is intention behind every frame of this thing. You can feel the team behind it care deeply about what they were building. Okay, now here is where I have to keep it completely real with you. The gameplay barely exists, and I do not mean that as a cheap shot or a lazy criticism. I mean it as an accurate factual description of what is in this game. You have skateboarding sequences where you dodge traffic and pull off simple tricks. There are short chase scenes, there are exploration segments where you walk around environments and interact with objects to unlock memories. There is a rock skipping section, a slushy machine moment, a shopping cart chase that is honestly kind of fun for about 90 seconds. None of it is hard. There are essentially no real consequences for anything. If you crash on the skateboard, the game rewinds you a few seconds and keeps going. If you miss a button prompt, the sequence usually completes itself anyway. You cannot lose, you cannot fall behind, you cannot fail. The game is going to get you to the end regardless of what you do or do not do with the controller in your hand. And yes, the viral clips are completely accurate. People have literally put their controllers down, walked out of the room, come back 10 minutes later, and the game is still running, still going, still playing itself. That is not an exaggeration or a meme. It is a real thing that happens. The skateboarding sections in particular will complete themselves if you just leave the stick alone. So if you are going into Mixtape expecting a video game in any traditional sense, mechanics that matter, challenge that builds, choices that affect outcomes, player agency that actually means something, that version of this game does not exist. And I think the genuine anger in the response to this game online is largely coming from people who felt misled about that, which honestly is a fair thing to feel. There are also some story issues I cannot let slide. Slater is clearly the weakest written of the three main characters by a significant margin. You spend the least time getting to know him, his backstory gets the least attention, his future is the most undefined of anyone in the story, and the game just rolls right past that like it does not even notice the gap. In a 3 to 4 hour experience with only 3 main characters, that is a real problem. There is no excuse for not knowing who one of your 3 leads actually is by the time the credits roll. There is also a road trip subplot that falls apart the second you actually think about it. Stacy had a trip planned with her friends for next week. She is leaving for New York tomorrow. Nobody in the entire game ever pauses to ask the obvious question of why she could not just push her departure back 1 week to keep that promise to the people she supposedly loves. The game skips right over it. It is one of those things that once you notice it, you cannot stop seeing it. Now, let me talk about the actual controversy because I know a portion of you are here specifically for this part. The internet cracked in half over Mixtape. One side is calling it a masterpiece, saying it made them cry, saying they picked up their phone after finishing it and texted people they had not talked to in years, calling it their game of the year without hesitation. The other side is watching those controller down clips and asking with genuine confusion how any professional reviewer looked at this thing and typed 10 out of 10. And here is where I land after actually thinking about it instead of just picking a side. Both sides are right about something, and both sides are missing something. The review scores are inflated, full stop. A 10 out of 10 is supposed to represent something near perfection, or at minimum, something that defines the best a medium can offer. Mixtape is not that. The gameplay is minimal by design. The story has genuine gaps. 3 to 4 hours is a short experience even at $20, and a game where you literally cannot lose should not be sitting in score conversations next to games where skill and mastery and effort actually shape your experience. The scores reflect a certain kind of critical bias toward narrative experiences that some outlets have always been more comfortable evaluating and less comfortable being honest about their limitations. But the conspiracy talk goes too far. Annapurna had a serious budget for the licensed soundtrack. That budget made the game better. That is not industry corruption. That is a publisher investing in their product, doing what publishers are supposed to do. And the emotional responses people are genuinely having, those are real. You cannot manufacture a person calling their old friend after playing a game. That is the work landing. That is the game doing exactly what it set out to do. The fair question is whether making someone feel something automatically earns a game a perfect score. And I would argue clearly it does not. A film can absolutely wreck you emotionally and still be a 7. Feeling something is a meaningful part of the evaluation. It is not the whole evaluation. So who should actually play this game? This is the part that matters most. If you are into story-driven games, if Life is Strange or What Remains of Edith Finch or Firewatch stayed with you long after you finished them, if you are the kind of person who puts on headphones and wants to disappear into an experience rather than conquer one, then Mixtape is genuinely for you. No hesitation. Play it tonight with the lights off and good audio. If you grew up in the 90s and had a tight friend group and a soundtrack that went with those years, this game is going to hit you somewhere specific. Just be ready for that. But if you need real gameplay, if you need challenge that means something, if you need to feel like what you do with the controller actually changes what happens on screen, then Mixtape is going to feel like watching someone else experience a 3-hour YouTube video, and that frustration is 100% valid. Neither type of gamer is wrong here. This game was built for one of them and not the other. Know which one you are before you spend the money. Here's the final verdict. Mixtape is a 3 to 4 hour interactive experience with one of the best art styles released this year, a legitimately excellent licensed soundtrack, and 3 characters that feel more real and lived in than most games 10 times its length. It is also mechanically hollow in a way the marketing does not prepare you for, has clear story gaps that should have been fixed, and received review scores that do not honestly reflect a complete evaluation of it as a video game. The critics who gave it a 10 were reviewing the emotional experience of it. That emotional experience is real and it is earned in the moments where everything clicks together, but a 10 out of 10 is supposed to account for the whole game. And on the whole, this is not a 10, this is a 7 for me. Maybe pushing toward a 7.5 if the music catches you at exactly the right moment in your life. Play it with headphones, play it at night, play it if you have ever had someone in your life you slowly drifted away from and you think about them sometimes and wonder what it would have looked like if you had just held on a little tighter instead of letting the distance win. Because underneath all the controversy and the viral clips and the inflated scores and the backlash and the counter backlash and all of the noise, that is what Mixtape is actually about. Not the 90s, not nostalgia as a concept, not the critical discourse around what counts as a real video game. It is about the people you let go too easy. And that part is real, and that part lands every single time. Drop your take in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you are at on this one. Did you play it? Did it hit you the way people are saying? Or did you put the controller down and walk away? If you are new to the channel, hit subscribe. I put out reviews and breakdowns every single week, and I will never sugarcoat anything for you. That is the promise. Catch me live on Twitch if you want to watch gameplay and talk about it in real time. Stay alpha.